how should I think about what's the right age for me to retire? And as a financial advisor, I'm fortunate. I've helped guide hundreds of families into retirement. So I have this data set of, over 1,000 families that I've talked to about this issue. But recently, Mass Mutual did a study of both pre-retirees and retirees where they asked this question as well. So I want to share with you the results of that study and then also talk to you about my experience and my views on what they found. So let's jump in. First, the most important part of this study is they found that retirees are happy in retirement. A majority of retirees report feeling more relaxed and happier because they retired. And I think that's a big finding. They also say that only 8% of people report feeling less happy in retirement. So that's good to know. And that's data you need to know as you're thinking about when should you retire. You're highly likely to be glad that you're retired sooner rather than later. Okay, let's keep going. Of the folks with regrets in retirement, the most common regrets were they didn't save enough money. That doesn't surprise me. The next one is not taking care of their health. I think that's important too. And they did not reduce their expenses. So, the data is what the data is, but I would caution you on placing too much emphasis on reducing your expenses. I think there's a good chance that later in retirement, when we have to reduce expenses just because we can't do as many things, we might regret not doing those things when we still had our health, when we still had our mental acuity, when it was still easy for us to do things physically. And then the last thing before I jump into the age to retire is just to achieve happiness in retirement, the Mass Mutual study reports, and I agree with, it's crucial to work on your financial and your physical health prior to retiring. And I would add one other thing. It's critical to work on, to diversify, for lack of a better term, to diversify your sense of purpose. So financial health, your physical health, and diversifying your sense of purpose. Because many of us, after working 20, 30, 40 years, so much of our identity is tied into our jobs. And when we retire, we give that up. And that can be a really hard thing, particularly for men. I don't want to be gender biased here, but my experience is this is tougher for men. I've certainly seen many women struggle with this as well. But I'll just leave it there. Okay, so when is the perfect age to retire? Now, again, this study by Mass Mutual, they surveyed 1,000 people that are in retirement and 1,000 people in pre-retirement. And what that study found when they asked retirees and pre-retirees, what do you think is the perfect age to retire? On average, 63 is the ideal age of retirement according to that survey. Now, it's important to keep with this video because the study has some other really important data that I want to share with you. And the first one is that many retirees ended up retiring sooner than what they had initially planned. And in some cases, that's because they could, but in other cases, it's because they had a health issue or it's because they got laid off from their job. So it's really important that not only do we plan for whatever age we retire, but we probably want to plan for even earlier than that age in case something out of our control happens. Okay, another finding that I want to share with you is retirees who took steps to set themselves up financially and to take care of their health at least 5 years prior to retirement are more likely to report being much happier in retirement. Again, I would add to this list, diversifying your sense of purpose, finding who you are outside of work. But 61% of retirees who reported being much happier said that they worked to pay off their debt at least 5 years before retirement. And I think that's the key. I know it's hard to do, but particularly if you can pay off your credit card debt and if you can pay off your mortgage before you retire. And again, I know that's hard to do, but it takes this pressure off of your shoulders and sacrificing for 3, 4, 5 years to make that happen. Or just focusing on the things that bring you joy and how you spend your money so that you can pay off those debts early. I have seen that in my practice as well. That brings a lot of joy, being able to free ourselves from the shackles of debt. Okay. On the subject of happiness, many retirees who are not happier in retirement admit to experiencing loneliness. And I think this is one of the key killers of joy in retirement. There's really two key killers of joy. One is that lack of purpose that we talked about earlier, but the other one is loneliness. So let's see what we can learn from that. Nearly half of retirees who are not happier in retirement agree that retirement has made them lonely at times, compared to just 16% who are much happier in retirement. And so this says it's worth our time, it's worth our effort, it's worth the work that we put in to build relationships, to nurture new relationships, to rekindle old relationships, high school, college, maybe previous jobs, for friends that we really enjoyed spending time with, but for whatever reason, we drifted apart. So that's something that I think many people would find, you know what, they're really glad that they did that and they reconnected. Okay, this now I'm going to share with you two tables that I think have a lot of really good data. And the first one is, which of the following are you most looking forward to in retirement? And they talk to pre-retirees, and then they talk to retirees. And there's one big takeaway that I want to share with you in here. You know, the traveling, 3/4 of people are really looking forward to traveling. It's about 60% of people that are in retirement are looking forward to traveling. So there's that gap there. I can tell you as a retirement advisor, when I ask people what they plan on doing in retirement, there's three kind of just easy answers that when I hear that, it triggers me to think, okay, let's explore really what this person is planning on doing in retirement. And the three default answers are traveling, spending time with friends, family, grandkids is really the answer. So traveling, spending time with grandkids, and gardening. Those are the three default answers. And when I hear that, I think it's probably worth us investing time to think more deeply about what that person wants to do in retirement. So traveling is the first one. The next one, let's just go down. You can see this list. Spending time with families and friends. You can see pre-retirees and retirees. That's about 65%. Having new experiences. Pre-retirees are much more interested in that than retirees. Not working, of course, that's what we're going to look forward to. Interestingly, romance and dating, and then building a legacy. So that's that table. But let's look at this next table. The average retiree is spending well over 30 hours a week watching television. And I think when any of us are thinking about retirement, none of us are thinking, gee, I'm really looking forward to watching a lot of television. So that's kind of a default that happens. That's, if we don't plan, that's probably how we're going to spend a lot of time. So if watching a lot of television is high on your list of priorities, it's not for me, it's not for most people I talk to. But if watching a lot of television is important for you, then just don't plan, because that's what's going to happen. And that's why planning and thinking about what we're going to do in retirement is so important. Okay, let's keep going. Which of the following causes the most anxiety when thinking about retiring? And there's some real gems in here. Financial uncertainty. Almost half of pre-retirees are worried about that, but only a fourth of actual retirees. So we spend so much time worrying, and rightfully so. Do I have enough money to retire? It's an important question, but it's not the only question. I think we as a society have over-indexed on that question, and I think there's so many other things we need to be looking at. Health issues, you can see what the numbers are here. Being bored in retirement, about a fourth of pre-retirees are worried about retirement. Boredom in retirement, mea culpa. That was probably my biggest concern prior to retiring, right? I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years. I loved my job. I loved the company that I worked for. I loved the people that I worked with. And I was just afraid I was going to be bored in retirement. And now, a little over 100 days into retirement, I can tell you I'm not bored at all. In fact, as I record this, I'm in a town in Guatemala, Antigua. And I'm having a great time. I'll end up spending 4 weeks traveling throughout Guatemala. So boredom is not something I have to worry about. And the nice thing is I'm not the only one. So about A fourth of pre-retirees are worried about that. But that drops by 10 percentage points, only about 15%. 1 in 7 are worried about boredom with people that are already retired. Adjusting to a new identity, yeah, frankly, I'm surprised that that's only 16% of pre-retirees, and I'm delighted to see it's only 7% of retirees. And then becoming socially isolated is something that we should be concerned with, and we should fight. We should work, we should invest in order to make sure that that doesn't happen. Okay, how do you plan on spending time when you retire? Traveling, we talked about that. But here's what I want to show. We've got exercise in there, spending time with loved ones. But the important one that I want to point out is watching movies and TVs. About half of people before they retired said that, that's how they're planning on spending. Look at what the numbers are for actual retirees. It's over 80%. Again, I shared about this earlier, but that's the default. That's what happens if we don't plan. I want you to have the richest, most enjoyable retirement possible. So I just want to put that caution out there. It's something we all have to worry about. That is the default on how we're going to spend our newfound freedom. Okay, and so those are the main points, and it's one of the reasons that I made this video up here, which talks about why waiting to 65 to retire might be a big mistake. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you now.